welcome to the Conjure Corner here on YouTube. First of all, I would like to say happy Hoodoo Heritage Month, y'all, okay? And I hope that everybody is out there honoring their ancestors and having plenty of low vibrational plates. But anyways, for those of you who don't know me or are not familiar with this channel, my name is Hunsi LaBelle Venus. I am your hoodoo voodoo priestess, and I am going to be your reader for today, okay? So before we get started, I am going to go ahead and shamelessly plug my spiritual store, botanicavenus.com. If you are not familiar, that is my own personal spiritual store where you can purchase all kinds of spiritual products from me. You can purchase magical makeup, many things that you can use to conjure in plain sight, and you can also book consultations, readings, all that fun stuff. So, okay, I had to reposition myself. But anyways, definitely make sure that you are hitting like, subscribe, and notify so that you get all of the notifications for this channel, all the spiritual tea, the classes, readings, all that fun stuff that I am going to be posting on this channel. And also for those of you who do not know me, I am the cosmetic chemist of Conjure. Something that I specialize in is making magical cosmetics, eyeshadows, body oils, all that fun stuff, etc., etc. So like, subscribe, share, all that, okay? So let's get into the real reason why you all are here, okay? Today I'm going to be reading on the tragic death of JonBenet Ramsey. For those of you who are not familiar with this case or this young girl, I will tell you it is pretty hard not to be aware because this case has been open and unsolved for about 25 years. JonBenet Ramsey was a 6-year-old beauty pageant girl who was found murdered in her home. The case is extremely controversial. I do believe that they released a documentary on Netflix called Casting JonBenet Ramsey. So if you want to check out that documentary, I feel like it's a great watch. But I remember being a child and hearing a lot of information about this case being all across all of the channels, on all of the major news stations. It's very interesting. And I think that it garnered a lot of attention because of how suspicious it was. The circumstances of her death are still very suspicious. The case is actually still considered a cold case to this day, and they haven't actually convicted anyone for her murder. So here are some additional details that I found. Okay, you all. So her body was found in the basement that same day, and reports reveal that JonBenet's skull had been fractured. JonBenet's mother, Patsy, allegedly found a ransom note demanding $118K for JonBenet's return, which investigators speculated was written by a female at that time. Okay, I'm going to say at that time because this case, like I said, has been open for at least 25 years. Okay, no one has ever been charged in the case, and the investigation is still open. Early suspicion fell on her parents and older brother, but they were exonerated after DNA evidence at the scene was found to belong to a male unrelated to the Ramsey family. Also, you all, something that I want to point out, just so you all have a better understanding of the story, and you also have a better understanding of the reading that I'm getting ready to do, is that during the autopsy, it was discovered that JonBenet Ramsey was strangled. It also looks like they uncovered that her mouth had been covered in duct tape and her wrists and her neck were wrapped with a white cord. It was also said that her torso had been covered in a white blanket, which was also later documented as one of her favorite white blankets. One of the really odd things that people pointed out is that her entire family was in the house at the time that she was murdered. Here's the very last piece of information that I will give you all before we get started, because I know what y'all came for, okay? It looks like the coroner also found what was believed to be a pineapple in JonBenet's stomach. Her parents do not remember, according to the record, giving her any the night before she died, but there was a bowl of pineapple in the kitchen, which her 9-year-old brother, her brother was 9-year-old at the time of her death, right? Remember that this happened in 1996, but there was a bowl that her 9-year-old brother Burke had of pineapples that they found in the kitchen. So what I will say, as far as we know overall, throughout history, they've blamed everybody. They blamed the dog. No, I'm just playing. I don't know about a dog. But they've blamed the mom, the dad, the brother, but none of them have actually been convicted. So let's get into it, y'all. Let's see what Spirit has to say. Okay, you all, let's go ahead and get into it. One of my very first questions surrounds JonBenet's relationship with her brother, with her older brother. If you remember from the intro, her older brother's name was Burke. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But her older brother's name was Burke. And I think that has been a popular question throughout the decades, simply because, he has been at the center of accusations in the past. So let's go ahead and see what Spirit has to say about what her relationship was like with her brother. Now, keep in mind, her brother was 9 years old at the time of her death, and she was 6 years old at the time of her death, okay? So something that I am seeing here that is really standing out to me is that they were robbed of a lot. And I think obviously that's apparent by her story, but they were robbed of developing an extremely deep connection. He was robbed of his innocence in a sense, and so was she. This is actually quite sad. This is a very heavy, longing energy in this spread that I have pulled here. She was robbed of her innocence at a very early age, as was he. There was a lighthearted energy between the two previous to this happening. He viewed her as very beautiful. He thought, it's giving he adored her. It's giving younger sibling energy, the natural younger sibling energy, like looking out for. But this reading literally is talking about, if you see here with these particular cards, he didn't have a chance as a brother to genuinely look out for her. She didn't have a chance to learn from him. They didn't have a chance to really connect like that. I'm getting the energy of overall love, of overall companionship. But the fact that we also have the companionship card here in reverse also lets me know that they didn't really get to reach the levels that we would expect siblings to reach. And that's understandable, right? Because from what we know from the case, she died at a very young age. So they didn't really get to connect. And he didn't really get to know her personality type that well. I also want to pull a few more cards, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Yes. So even in the tarot system, we think of the Fool as like the beginning of things. This is like the womb, right? It's associated with the number 0. This means that anything can happen. This is openness. This is open to a new journey. And this further confirms that, the relationship just didn't develop like that according to Spirit. There were so many possibilities between the two, or what her life or her path could have been, or what their relationship could have been, and it just hadn't developed. I think that he saw her as a baby. His ideas of his sister had not quite formed yet when she passed. I'm getting the energy of he did not know what to think. Her spirit did not know what to think. I'm picking up the energy of her spirit being very confused, very lighthearted, very much so lost, like looking around like what's going on, almost asking questions. From this spread, there's an energy of confusion. And we're going to keep reading, right? Because we're going to keep asking some questions tonight. But I get that her spirit, or during her time here, she didn't really get to know the deep companionship of a good sibling or a good friend. She didn't get, her spirit didn't get the companionship of a good friend or a good deep relationship. Her spirit is coming through in this reading, and I know it's not directly related to this question, but y'all know me, I'm going to give you everything that I'm seeing. But her spirit isn't coming through like she was completely nourished in her lifetime. She didn't get all of the love and all of the nourishment that her spirit needed, or that she felt like she should have gotten. Not only from her brother, from her brother, y'all, her brother, but not only from her brother, but from her family is what I was trying to say. Her energy comes through very much as there's an energy of heaviness in the room, an energy of almost sadness that I'm picking up between her and her brother. It's more on her side. She feels like she didn't get to know him that well. She didn't receive the love and support that she needed from him during her time here. I'm picking up there's a coldness, you guys, a coldness. There's a temperature shift that I'm feeling. There's a coldness here that a certain regret. There's things he could have taught her, or that they could have taught each other, and that just did not happen in their relationship. You know what, you all? Her spirit feels as though her time with her brother was cut short, or her time here in general was cut short. So what this particular spread is confirming is that their relationship didn't get to develop, in the spirit's opinion, how it should have, or how it could have. There's a certain level of depth. There's a longing to get to know better. There's like a missing aspect or a missing link of this spirit. It's so cold, you all, like literally. It's a coldness too. It's at this point, something I will tell you all is that, you know, I can feel. So what I am feeling right now is like she's an outcast, and she feels as she's an outcast, an outsider, and she's looking in on her present day family's life. Like this is an energy of also like there's a small part of remembering or being reminiscent of a time, but she's looking in, and she longs, her spirit is longing for these things that she wishes she could have had. I think that this feeling of longing is actually bigger than the brother's energy that I am picking up and I'm feeling here. But it's almost sad, because it's almost a woulda, coulda, shoulda have been energy. Her relationship with her brother, it was just undeveloped. It hadn't gotten that deep. It's almost like I hadn't got to know you that well. I knew you in a sense. It's very, all of this entire reading confirms youth-like energy. This is very developing, knowing of very early beginner stage of I'm getting to know this person, I'm developing. I feel an energy of initial universal love, almost the love that you come into this lifetime with. but this is this is an undeveloped story. So I'm really picking up her energy right now of like not being able to complete said story, not being able to learn what she felt that she needed to learn, or see what she needed to see. She almost feels like she was disconnected from her family, and also maybe even her divine path, too early. Even in this reading, I know I'm still on the first question, but her energy is so, it's very almost it's sad. It's lingering. As I mentioned earlier, I feel a coldness, and she watches over, she watches her brother in a sense. She looks at him, she sees his life and the things, and she at one point wishes that the relationship had developed further, or that she got to know more, witness more, be a part of it more, is where the energy is coming from at this point. As I said, I do see the beauty card. And I do see, excuse me, not the beauty, but that's what I want to say. She was seen as someone beautiful. Her brother saw her as beautiful, unique, one of a kind. And that just got interrupted quite early, is from what I can see. So that's what I got from that question, you all, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and proceed to the next question. And a lot of people throughout time kind of wanted to know, and I think that this is something that a lot of people wanted to know, was JonBenet abused? Like, was she abused during her time here? Was she physically abused? Like, what? I guess, I'm going to alter this question a little bit. Like, what was her time like here? Was she abused? Was JonBenet abused, Spirit? Let's see what the cards have to say. Okay. Was JonBenet abused? And you all, I'm going to pull a lot of cards because I am nosy, and I really want to get a good idea of what this young girl's life was like while she was here. Okay, you all, I don't know, Lord, okay? I know that you can't see all of my cards, but that's okay. I'm going to show you as I go along and I tell the story of this young girl, okay? So, was JonBenet abused? There was a lot in JonBenet's life, and I feel like this reading absolutely makes sense. Bear with me, I'll adjust the camera here. But I feel like this reading absolutely makes sense for what we do know, or what the general public actually knows about this young girl. I see we start off right here, and I pick up an energy just like overall of like her not necessarily understanding or being fulfilled with what was actually happening in her life. This was a child who was actually optimistic at points and times in her life, but this young lady never got to experience the fullness of fulfillment. She never got to truly understand what happiness in her purpose was. And something that's coming through, like her energy. Oh, you guys, like her energy is very easy to pick up on. She's very much willing to talk. But she never got to fulfill her hopes of optimism. Like, still with the cards that I see, I'm like, we're still picking up a very, I'm still picking up a very lighthearted energy, a youthfulness that's coming through. But she is speaking, in a sense, very maturely. She's speaking in a sense that she has not gotten to understand now in her time, right? Now she's coming to a certain level of awareness where she kind of understands these things. But what she's saying is like, she was abused more in the sense of like, she was robbed of a childhood. She was robbed of youthfulness. She feels like, in hindsight, like she was robbed of smelling the roses. She was robbed of, oh, okay. So what I am getting is, this is not only like her, okay. So this message is not only for her earthly neglects or the things that she feels like she was neglected for here in this time, in this space, and in this energy, and in this lifetime. These are not only, but she feels part of her grievance, or part of what she feels like she was abused for, because that's what we asked the question for. Part of what's coming up here, she feels like she was abused because she was robbed of her life. She's not even mad. This isn't an angry energy. This is an emotional energy of like, she is also tied here because of the constant investigation, because she's tied to her family because of the constant investigation, because of the constant documentaries, because of the constant energy being pulled from her. She still feels tied. So there's so many things coming out in this reading here, you all. There's an annoyance, a small annoyance, because it's a sad, it's a sad energy, but it's a small annoyance because it's like constantly being tugged at, constant energy constantly being pulled at, not only through family, but through the mass media, and also her own feelings of like never being able to be fulfilled, never being able to fulfill what she felt like she should have fulfilled. Now, there's a couple of things, right? Like, so I'm just kind of reading this all as a story, but some things that are standing out to me here, which I know you all couldn't see my card. So I'm going to just reveal to you the order of these cards so you can kind of follow maybe where I'm coming from. But she appreciates the attention, the gratitude. This is not a complaining, right, energy. This isn't her being angry, as I said earlier. This is her energy literally being like, at this point, I appreciate these things. I appreciate the prayers. I appreciate the love and the offerings. People going and visiting her gravesite, or doing whatever they can to venerate her and to keep her memory alive. This is her appreciating it. But her energy is really torn. She feels literally tied to some of these things. There is somewhat of an unfinished energy, wishing that it could progress, because sometimes like the Fool is like that breakthrough, the Fool is that new journey, the Fool is like going on to the next chapter. And this plus the reverse Seven of Cups sometimes also represents her being resistant to that. There's too much going on. I also feel like her kind of wanting to also, with that last card there, break away and move forward from it. But there's so much tied into the earthly matters, as far as like she's literally giving The reason why these questions are so detailed, because she's giving a lot of information. Her energy is really giving a lot of information in these readings. So what I can say is her feelings of abuse are different from what we were expecting in this reading. Her, according to her energy and what we're picking up in this, her energy of abuse came from unfulfillment. It comes from a missed childhood. It comes from not doing the things that she wants to do or wanted to do. It's coming from being tied to energies and things like that. People not respecting her wishes, not respecting the messages that come through, and just literally blatantly ignoring that, like celebrating living their life without concern of like what this spirit actually wants and how she wants to move forward at this point. This is really something, you know, where people give a lot of attention, like I said, which is really great. But at this point, this is, like I said, a very small annoyance as to what this, you know, what she actually wants. And low key, she's like equating that to a certain abuse. Like people, I'm getting that, you know, she has nudged at especially family members in her life. Like she's nudged at their energy and nudged at their soul and let them know that there's certain things that she wants and they're just ignoring it. And that at this point is equating to the answer to our abuse question. Like, you know, was she abused? In her opinion, that's an annoyance to her. So that's what I will say. Okay, you all? So our very next question, and it may be our last because I've been on here for a minute tonight, but actually, you all, if you have made it this far and if you want me to do a part 2, please let me know in the comments, because I'll be happy to do a part 2, because I actually have more questions around this. This was a case that, you know, has gone on for generations, and I would love to read on it more for you all. Just let me know if it's something that you want me to do, okay? So looking at this here, the very next question, excuse me, is JonBenet is buried in Marietta, Georgia, next to her mother. And one of the other questions was like, does she actually want to be married to her mother? Buried next to, excuse me, you all. Does she want to be buried next to her mother? Okay, bear with me, you all. I am shuffling. Does JonBenet actually want to be buried next to her mother? Okay, so let's pull some cards on that, on if JonBenet actually wants to be married next to her mother. Okay, let's go ahead and pull these cards. Does JonBenet actually want to be buried next to her mother, y'all? Oh, these readings are so tragic, and as you can see earlier, like it got really dark for a second, y'all, but it's also, I feel like there's also a little bit of healing here, because, you know, we're given a chance for spirit to speak. And so from what I can see is like not necessarily no. And it's almost very sad, because from what I can tell from this reading, like, you know, she loves her mother. But for those of you who read tarot, baby, I want y'all to see that. Okay, I'm just gonna leave that there. Okay, I want y'all to see that before I continue reading. Okay, so I'm put it back in the spot. Okay. But anyways, does JonBenet actually want to be buried next to her mother? I see here that this has been over time a very conflicted energy, and I think that her energy still goes back and forth on it in reference to her mother. um you know, when it comes to the reverse Three of Swords, especially at the beginning there, this is something that has been dealt with for a long time. This is, past heartbreak. This is being like literally betrayed. And like I said, if you want a part two, maybe we can read further into her relationship with her mother. But so far, as far as how she feels about her mother, is really not looking good. If you can tell, this is not a positive reading about how she feels about her mother. Like, it's low-key the energy of being betrayed. And over the 25 years of her death, her literally having to face every single last thing that her mother has done to her and deal with it. Something that I wanted to point out is like the Two of Cups right there in the middle. And I feel like this is talking about, she does love her, but in reference to all of these other cards, her mother, she feels like her mother has not always done right by her. I'm even picking up, this is through intuitive download, I'm picking up that even outside of her natural born life here on this earth, she still feels somewhat jaded. Like, she literally still feels like her mother didn't handle her properly in this lifetime and in the next. Something that I am seeing is like, her spirit is, and this makes me a little sad. Well, I'm just picking up the sadness as well, but her spirit wants to come more to an equilibrium, and it wants to rest in a certain sense, but her energy is very much conflicted by several things, even though I feel like I also confirmed that in the last question. The cards came through very clear. Her energy came through very clear as soon as we started pulling cards in today's reading. She is very much so has had a hard time. She has had a hard time settling. She has had a hard time transitioning. She has really had a hard time getting past the grievances or the things that she feels are grievances. Now, in this case, I can confirm based off of these cards that her mother's energy, she felt, has held her back in a way, but also in a way that is ingenuine. She has also felt like she has had to protect herself from her mother. On this side and on the spiritual realm side, she has felt like she has struggled to protect herself from her mother, and she would like to come to an equilibrium with that at some point. Like, that is something that I would see that her energy would prefer to actually end, because you guys, it's unclear as what her mother did, but her energy feels as though her mother has hurt her. She has harmed her. She's emotionally upset by her mother. She's been back and forth on whether or not she actually wanted to be buried by her. Based off of this reading, not so much. I get that previously she did have a longing and a want and a need to be beside her mother, but this is also something that has kind of lost the importance or value for her. She's not necessarily feeling like, oh yes, I do want to be buried by my mother or anything like that. And that has, that has been something that has been gone back and forth on for quite some time. So I think that it's just coming to a place of like balance, a place of acceptance. I really hope that, her energy comes to a place of peace, because you guys, 25 years later, And I am getting these types of messages in this reading. So it's still very much a very active energy. It's still very much sometimes chaotic and sometimes not necessarily at peace. Like some of the, some of the things that people say, or one of my favorite quotes is that hindsight is 2020. And this is the case of JonBenet Ramsey. Hindsight has literally been 2020 for her. Hell, I might just do a part 2, even if y'all don't ask for it, just because I'm nosy and just because the energy came through and it really showed up and it showed out. My ancestors, my spirit spoke very well and very clear tonight, or today, whenever you're watching this reading, today in this reading. So I might just do the last video as a part 2. Who knows? Who knows? Y'all know I'll be all over the place. But, however, this was very insightful. It was very enlightening. If you like this reading, definitely hit like, subscribe, notify, share this video, okay? As always, make sure you all go visit botanicavenus.com, the online spiritual store. And as always, I am Hunsi LaBelle Venus, your hoodoo voodoo priestess, and I'm also your cosmetic chemist of conjure. And thank you all for supporting this channel. I wish you all nothing but the best on your spiritual journey. Make sure you all use the links below to connect with me or to join mentorship with me as well. You all be blessed.